Hello, greetings and welcome to F4 Milestones, The Countdown. This is our third episode of the 2025 season, a very special season for us because it is the 10th season of Spanish Formula 4 Championship. And for our third episode, we have a very special guest, Marta García. Thank you very much for accompanying us today. And we are very happy to have you here with us. More than anything, because you also have a history of the championship. But first of all, how are you doing?
Thank you for having me here. I'm good, thanks. All good here. Still enjoying motorsport, you know. And now we can talk about a bit of everything, also when I was doing Formula 4 with you guys. So let's see.
So first of all, we know that you are, of course, a very, in recent times, quite notorious racing driver. You have experience in several categories, in F1 Academy, of course, first champion there, in W Series, in Formula 4. But how would you define yourself as a racing driver, but also as a person, other than your achievements, of course?
Yeah. I would say as a racing driver, I am very competitive. I like to work a lot. Obviously, when I'm on the race weekends, I like to work a lot with the engineer, you know, like I'm very focused. Very competitive. Like I try my best, you know, to get everything out, like everything that I can to get out of the car, to get out of the feedback with the engineers. So I would say I'm quite I work a lot to get results. And then as a person, I would say I'm a bit more. I would not say crazy, but I would say more like spontaneous, like more. I struggle to be patient, so I'm very impatient also.
I think there's a lot of drivers who are quite impatient. Yes. You go everywhere fast, so it seems that things are slow in life sometimes.
Exactly. I feel like sometimes I need to chill out, you know. But yeah, I would say I'm just a normal girl, you know, but really spontaneous. I like to have fun also with my friends, my family, going out here and there. I like to travel a lot. But yeah, I would say also I'm very competitive outside of the track in anything I do. But yeah, I think that would be more or less.
Do you think that's a little bit of a consequence of having to be so focused and so competitive in a racing car? Then, you know, you need to let it out and be more spontaneous, as you said, outside. Does that help you? You know, when it's time to focus, you focus, and when it's not, then you can just do whatever?
Exactly. And I think for me at least, it's funny because when you are on track, you just focus and I don't really lose the focus. I am very focused. But then when I'm outside of the track, sometimes I actually struggle to maybe focus on one thing, but maybe because I don't feel like it motivates me. So if something doesn't really motivate me, I struggle to actually work on that or focus on that because it's not really giving me anything or like any emotions that I need.
Because you're completely focused on the racing as well, that's understandable. But first of all, because now you speak about things that you like, and I think you can connect well with that. When did you first come in contact with motorsport? Because that's, in a way, it's the love of your life, if you allow me to be a bit romantic. So there must have been a first moment where you realized what motorsport is and you were like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Mm-hmm.
I think I did some karting when I was like 6-7 years old with my dad and my family when we were in Spain, you know. And I always loved it. So every time I was driving the car, I always loved it, you know. I felt like I was the king of the world in the go-kart. And then I think after, like, when I was 9 years old is when I went to an actual racetrack, and then I was with my sister also, with my dad. We tried some go-karts. I really liked it also. It was like there was a good connection between the speed, the feeling of driving a car, and also how I liked it, you know, because I tried a lot of sports like karate, like swimming, golf, tennis, and I don't know why, but I didn't really find like that thing that would want me, like I would stay doing that sport. So when I did motorsport, when I tried the go-kart and I also went to see a competition, is when I realized that's what I wanted to do, because it's like, it was everything, like the speed, the adrenaline, the feeling of driving the car, just the driving. I always liked the driving. So it was a bit of everything, and then I said, okay, this is what I want to do.
now I'm just imagining with how you said you are impatient, and I can imagine you doing golf. And it's
No.
hard to imagine. It's
No.
very hard to imagine.
Yes. I actually don't even do golf anymore.
Of course.
I respect, obviously, the people that does golf. I think it's a great sport. But for me, I feel like I struggle a lot just because it's more of a slow sport, right?
It takes its time. You need to, evaluate everything.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel the same way, even though, of course, I'm not driving as you are, but I do feel the same way. So we're there. You mentioned, of course, racing and how all started with karting, of course, and we probably could be talking about karting for a good hour, but we would run out of time. So I have to ask you, from when you started doing professional racing in cars rather than karting, which was, of course, Formula 4, how was your experience there?
It was a good experience. I would say good and bad experience, not in a bad way, but like at the end of the day, it was good because, you come from karting, where everything is, I loved karting. So when I was doing karting, I really loved karting. I was really good. I was really fast. I was doing really good also in European World Championships. Then I switched to single-seaters, I think with the F4 with you guys for the first time. And obviously the first laps, it's tricky because it's really different from karting to single-seaters. Everything is much bigger. There is a lot of things to look at. There is a lot of technique that you need to learn that you don't have that really in karting. Then we didn't really used to look at data when we were in karting. Nowadays you do. But then there was a lot of more things that were actually coming, and then you had to learn and so on. So I think it was a good experience because at the end of the day, it's good to experience new things. And I liked the Formula 4 when I was driving it for the first time. But I found it a bit of a struggle also because I felt like I needed someone to coach me properly on how the technique works or how the weight works of the car because no one really told me when I started. And maybe like that I could have understood it better. But no, it's really different, obviously, coming from karting, but you just need to get adapted to it. And still, some drivers don't really adapt properly to the single-seater just because maybe it's not the way they drive. It's more karting style. But yeah, it was a nice experience, but at the same time, it was a bit of a struggle.
A bit of a learning experience, I suppose, and I think, and this is something I wanted to ask, how important it is for a driver not to just, be quick, but also choose the right team, the right people to help you out with those things that you don't know yet and that you need to learn, the right championship as well, because not all, if we're talking about F4, not all Formula 4 championships have the same strengths as well. So how important do you think that is for the driver?
I think it's important at the end of the day because, me, when I started, I was doing F4, Spanish F4, actually. I think nowadays it grew so much as well, so I think now is one of the best championships if you want to do F4. Probably like when I did it was like 2016, so almost 10 years ago. Probably it was a bit lower level than some others because there was some very strong ones. But for me, I think it was a good start, Maybe just the teams were not, for me, I missed some professionality from some of the teams. Because at the end of the day, as I said, I went to Prema, which I find a really professional team. And the first thing they do with the drivers is they put a PowerPoint with an engineer and they show you basically how a car works. So basically they show you how the transfer weight works, how you should drive the car, what is the differential, what is not. So actually I think that helps a lot as well to understand because you need a bit of theory just to when you change to single-seaters. And I felt like when I started in F4, there was not really teams that were giving me this kind of information that could help me. It was mostly just go on track, jump out, watch data, brake later or turn a bit earlier and then, like these inputs that at the end of the day, okay, if I see data now, I can understand myself and I know. But when you start, it's a bit tricky. You need, I think, a good team, a good coach, or at least a good, just that the team works in a good way and they are professional and they want you also to grow as a driver. And as I said, they show you what is like to drive a single-seater. Because at the end of the day, we come from karting and we don't really know how how different it is as single-seater.
Exactly, especially you're speaking about weight transfer and aerodynamics, which is probably the two biggest things in a single-seater, and that doesn't exist in karting. I can imagine a coach telling a driver, just brake 10 meters later, and it's different from if I tell you, brake 10 meters later because the weight is going to transfer and the rear is going to be lighter and then it's going to rotate more. And then as a driver, you probably understand that a lot more and you know what to expect. Do you think that's changed a lot in the past, let's say 10 years-ish? Like, do teams do more of this now than they did back then?
I don't actually know. I think probably no.
Okay.
At least from what I know, because when I joined in the F1 Academy, that I guess we will speak later about it. I can just talk about Prema because it's the team that I realize they do this. But for example, I don't want to say names from teams, but I did some Spanish F4 with some teams, and also I joined some other teams in other categories, and they don't really do this. Obviously, I think it's when you come from karting, so obviously they're not gonna do it every time you jump to a new car.
In Formula One, and they tell
exactly.
you, okay,
hey,
this
you
is
need
a car,
to drive.
transfer. Okay, thank you.
That's what I mean. But when you start, I think it's important that the team has this knowledge and they want you to. But I think also Prema, for example, oh my God, I'm doing a lot of advertising to the team.
I didn't want to say anything, but they'll be happy.
Yeah. But no, but the good thing is they have a very good way of working. But I can just talk about them in that way because I was never in a team where they did this. Probably nowadays, if you go to some team, they also try to teach you a bit in the start. But I never actually found this when I started.
And of course, after Formula 4, you made a jump to a bigger car, which also has a different set of challenges. That was W Series. What are your memories about that time?
I mean, for me, the W Series was a big opportunity because back in the days, I did F4 in 2000. I did a bit of 2016, 2017. I did the full championship on F4 Spain with MP Motorsport. And then the issue for me was that we didn't have budget in 2018, so I had to go back to karting. So for me, the W Series was a big opportunity because it's sort of, I was going to probably stop racing back in 2018 at the end of the year, but then W Series came. So for me, obviously, it was like, thanks to them, I could be racing for another 3 years, for 2019, 2020, no, because there was the COVID and we didn't race, but 21 and 22, I was racing. So yeah, it was a different championship, something new, because it was the first championship of women, just women in single-seaters. But to be fair, the first year, 2019, they gave us a lot of track time. We got a lot of experience, and I think it was actually quite good. We were with High Tech. They were the ones organizing the championship. So yeah, I was actually quite happy with the first year. But then 2020, there was this problem with the COVID-19, we couldn't race in the end because there was no budget. So it's a bit tricky because then you are one year without racing.
1 year, yeah.
So it's like on, off. Then we were lucky that it was on 2021. But also I had a really bad year mentally in 2021, some also personal problems that I translated them on track. And at the end of the day, it was 2022, the last year of W Series. But for me, the best year was 2019 because it's where we had more track time. Then, in my opinion, on 2021 and 2022, it got a bit more marketing. We were with the F1 as well, to be shown around the world, which I think is really good for us, for the visibility. But we had less track time, and it was more focused a bit on the marketing than actually focusing on giving us track time, giving us experience, and all of these things. But for sure, a very good opportunity for me because otherwise probably I would not be sitting here.
At the point, yeah. So I suspect what you're going to say, but do you think there's something that could have been done perhaps better in W Series? And I don't say this in a way of criticizing them because what they did was very good also for a lot of the drivers who had that chance. But
yeah, for me, obviously I'm super happy with what they did. But what I would say is I would have given us more track time because at the end of the day, on the first year, we were doing like I'm not sure if we were doing 2 races. I cannot even remember. But we were doing quite some more free practice, like more time, maybe some more qualis. Then in the last 2 years, it was just FP1 30 minutes, quali 30 minutes, race 30 minutes. So at the end of the day, it's 1 hour 30.
Formula 3 or Formula 2, it's just super quick.
Exactly,
No track time.
exactly. But at least they have 2 races.
Yeah, exactly. But you had one.
And FP1 and FP2. No.
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, it was like this. They should have changed, give more track time, because at the end of the day, a lot of us didn't have much experience on single seaters, and I think if they want to show the talent of the girls, and to give them the opportunity to learn, they should give more track time. So this is one thing I would change. And also when we were there, we were changing engineers every race. So let's say we were racing in Spa, for example. One race I was with Pepito, and then the next race I was with another engineer. So this I would also change, just to have the same engineer all the races, because at the end of the day is what you need, is how F1 works, is how all the other championships work, always working with one engineer to build a relationship, because at the end of the day it's really important. To be fair, apart from that, I would say it was the first time on doing on doing something like that. So I think at the end of the day, it was good, and for me, I will always be thankful to what they did.
So just for people to understand, because you mentioned this about the engineers, and I remember that being an issue for some of the drivers. Also at the time, I was looking into having maybe a driver racing there. So we looked and talked about all this. And for people to understand, this was done to ensure that there was not one engineer who was super good and only one driver was benefiting from that. But, as you said, you need that confidence that having the same person working with you will give you the person who will know your good spots or your weak points, and then you can work on those. And it must be very tricky, because it's like you're doing a reset every weekend, because every weekend you have to start getting to know the person, getting to know them.
And it's funny, because at the end of the day, what you need to do is just focus on the driving. But then, as you say, whenever we were going on a new weekend, it was funny, because then it's like, hi, I'm Marta, I'm whatever. And then it's like, how are you? How was the last race? What did you do? Like, you need to explain him what happened and what were the issues.
Because they do not have that information. If they would have had it if they were your regular engineers.
So that's much more practical, and you don't lose time on that at the end of the day, and they just know you more. But they also used to do that with the cars. So because you say maybe one of the drivers there was a girl that I think she was never happy with the engineer she had, and then they were changing the engineers. But yeah, as I say, this can happen, but this can happen in F1, this can happen everywhere. At the end of the day, sometimes you need to work with that person, and you need to adapt with that person and try to work.
Maybe you're unlucky, and in the team you're working, the engineer, they fire him after one race, and you need to change to the next one. So
yeah, you never know.
So after that, you join F1 Academy, and right away, first champion. Did you expect success so quickly? Or did that come as a surprise for you?
To be fair, it didn't come as a surprise. Let's say when I finished W Series in 2022, I was recovering a bit from 2021, because that was a really bad year for me. So when I signed the contract for F1 Academy 2023, in my head, I knew who was racing the championship. I knew some of the drivers that were racing also in the W Series, and I know I was better than many of them, and I know I could be winning if I would work hard, and I would also be very focused on the job, not going around in circles or doing anything strange. So for me, the main thing of winning the championship in 2023 was the focus, because since the first day that I signed the contract, I was focused in every single area of my life. Like I stopped studying university in January, February of 2023, because I was doing university, and then I said, okay, I leave university now because I'm not gonna have time. And I just focused on F1 Academy. I want to do well. I want to win. That's why I also went with Prema, because I knew they were a really good team, always in F4. So I wanted to make sure I had everything in the right place. So for me, it was mostly the focus. Just don't losing the focus, working good with the engineers, working also with a mental coach that I had back in the days. So as I said, it was not surprising because I knew I was doing everything that I could in my hands. But obviously you never know, so things can be...
Racing is like that sometimes. But.
Yeah, but for me, I was doing everything that was in my hands, and I think also that's what gave me, like the consistency of that work and the focus, that's what also gave me the championship win.
So, of course, the championship has a similar idea, a similar concept as W Series, but it's run by different people with maybe some differences. What would you say makes it, I don't want to say stronger, but is there anything that is better in there or something that is worse than W Series? How would you compare the two? I know it's an unfair question, but you've been in both series, so you're in a good position to...
Yes. Well, obviously, because W Series was there, F1 Academy came. Because at the end of the day, they saw that there was the W Series, they saw what they were doing, and they decided that they wanted to do a championship. No, F1 decided, let's do a F1 Academy championship, and let's give the opportunity to the girls to get experience, you know, to get track time, to be also around the F1 paddock, also on the broadcast, so they can get visibility. So for me, obviously, this is good. I think the difference between the championships mostly was that F1 Academy, you were with the teams that are doing F2, F3. So like Prema, ART, Campos, like all of these teams are already in those categories, in F2 and F3. So it was good because at the end of the day, you knew you were working with proper teams, very professional. Instead, in the W Series, for example, it was tricky because at the end of the day, it was like just one team for all of the drivers. So it was mostly like an organization than actual teams.
More like a school sometimes, I've been told.
Yes. It was quite different. So for me, that was a really good thing from F1 Academy and still is nowadays. And also, just in general, the fact that we had a lot of track time actually when we were doing the F1 Academy on 2023. I have to say, we had, I think we had like 3 races. I cannot even remember. You need to look at it. But I think it was 3 races, which was really good because it was 2 like feature races and then one
short race, yeah.
Exactly, which was also inverted. So it was quite good that you had a lot of track time. Then you also had like 2 qualis of 15 minutes. You have FP1, FP2. So I think that was really good. A strong F1 Academy first year because they were focusing a lot on the track time. It's true that nowadays F1 Academy is also with the F1. At the end of the day, it's part of F1. It's a championship from F1. So they have a bit of less track time now, but also if you want to be with F1, you know you're going to have to cut.
You have to have some trade-off, yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, I don't like to compare things. As you say, it's tricky. But for me, F1 Academy was really good at how they were organizing everything. Also, they were giving us a lot of visibility as well in social media, everything. Now also they have the Netflix show, as we saw. But I'm just scared that it will become more like also more marketing than focusing on driving. But that's it.
So, of course, now we've been speaking about all these series that are focused on also helping women in motorsport. I wish I didn't have to ask you this, because then that would mean things are normalized. But being a woman in motorsport is never easy. How has been your experience throughout the years?
Well, I remember when I started karting, like when I was 9, 10, as I said when I started, I did one of my first races. Probably I had been like 1 year already doing some racing. And there was a dad. Well, we were doing the race, then, I don't know, we finished the race. There was like a dad that came so angry to the kid that was just behind me, like, oh my God, you did such a bad race, and even the girl was in front of you. So I was like, ooh, you know, like at the end, I was like 11 years old, and I was like, okay, well, what? The girl was in front of you, who cares? So I remember this thing stayed in my head, Like even I remember now, like 15 years after. So this is how I started to realize that it was difficult for us to, like, we needed to show that a girl or that you could be fast, that you could be doing very good. For me, in my first years in karting also, I was struggling because, you know, now they have the bumpers that they fall down if you push some drivers. Before, we didn't used to have them, so it was really easy to just touch someone on the rear of the go-kart.
On the braking point to just push you out.
Yeah, so push you out and then just overtake you. So I used to get that a lot in my first year in international racing. But then I had my dad also, you know, and some mechanics, and we were like, okay, if we want this to be the same, we need to do the same to them.
So you also push them back.
Exactly. So I pushed them back also, you know, because I had to gain my respect. Like, at the end of the day, what do I say there? Like, you're driving like there, oh my God, you pushed me out, that's it? No. I did the same to them. I still remember some drivers that were always like, actually it was like always like 4 or 5 drivers doing it always. So once you did the same, or even worse, like, hey, I'm here, so, you know, respect me. Then things started to get a bit different. Also, people talking in the paddock, oh, this girl did this, da, 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 da. Also, I started to be faster. I was also topping some results. Then everything changes because then they realize, oh, this girl is fast, like, she can be fast.
You're not here because you're a girl and someone's helping. You're here because you're a driver and you're quick.
Yes. And also, they see you, the character, and you're, like, really focused. So they start to see you as, like, one more, you know? Which shouldn't be, because at the end of the day, you see girls now in karting, sorry. And I think now it's much more normalized because obviously we open a lot of doors for the young girls now. But when I was racing in 2013, 14 internationally, it was a bit tricky because there was still a lot of guys that didn't really like to have a girl in front. And they were not used to having girls in karting that were fast or were good. But yeah, this is what I faced when I was in karting. Then nowadays, I would say it's much better, as I said. Even myself now, I didn't really have any problems or anything strange that made me feel bad. There is always a bit of something, you know, or you meet someone that doesn't, oh, it's a girl, and da, da, da. But it's much better than it was like some years ago. But there's still a lot to do.
And I think, as you said, things are changing a lot in motorsport in the recent years because we've talked about it, but we had WCS, we had F1 Academy, we have this project Iron Dames, which is everywhere almost in motorsport as well. And this year we also have, for the first time ever, a woman being a race engineer in Formula One with Esteban Ocon. So it's not just about the drivers, because we often talk about just the drivers, but it's more than that. Do you have friends and people you know who are doing other jobs in motorsport that is not just drivers, that you can compare experiences as well?
Yes, of course. I think with the drivers, bringing friends from a driver is a bit more tricky because there's still a lot of rivalry. But to be fair, I got a lot of girl friends from motorsport, like journalists, you know, from the F1 paddock, from some other paddocks. Also mechanics, engineers. You know, at the end of the day, I think it's nice because you are in the same kind of environment. You share many things. Maybe the same issue that she had with whoever, you also share it because it happened to you as well. So it's also funny to be with other girls involved in motorsport because it's good also because you also can help each other somehow. You also share the experiences, and it helps. Also helps.
Now, when we talk about specifically drivers, some women that are racing, their goal is to be treated exactly the same as any guy driver, any man who's racing. Mm-hmm. While others are happy to just say, you know what, I don't care. If I'm helped a little bit more, it's an advantage. I'll take it because I'm a driver and I want to win. How do you see that? Because I know that balance is always
Wait,
tricky.
what do you mean? What do you mean?
For example, I'm just thinking about an anecdote with a recent series in Europe where female drivers had a lower weight in the car,
My
for
God.
example. So, you know, some drivers would say, if the rules give me less weight, I'll take it. While others would say, no, I want to be the same.
I think that's really bad, actually.
Yeah.
The fact that you're even making the girl like less by making you get less weight, so then maybe you can do something. No, I think that's really bad, and I know which championship was doing it, and I think it was awful when I saw it. To be fair, no, like how would you think to do that? Anyway, I think we all have to race the same. If we race together, we race the same. If you are worse, okay. If you are better, okay. But
it's different if it's a series where just women are racing, then you can change things.
Yeah,
Because
like
it's for everyone
you
it's the same,
can
so.
help maybe with the steering wheel. When we were doing W Series, I remember the Formula Regional car was quite difficult to steer, even for the drivers, for the guys. They were struggling a lot. So they decided, okay, so we want all the drivers to be comfortable with the car. So let's change the rec of the steering wheel. So, but it was for all of us to just make it easier, so no one would complain or no one would struggle. So it was more of a fair championship. But no, this of putting less weight for a girl just because she's a girl, that's...
It's just, it makes you feel like you need to help me to win because otherwise...
Exactly, like that's not... no, don't know who had that idea, but not good.
And coming back to what you mentioned about friends, I know that with drivers, being a friend of a driver is always tricky because you're always going to want to beat each other. But do you think that there's a little bit more solidarity between female drivers? Because you've been in the same boat, so to speak, and your problems are probably going to be very similar to another ones, and sometimes that help can help push things in the right direction, perhaps?
Yeah, well, I think when you are around the same age and you're doing the same championship, as I said, it's a bit tricky to be like friends with someone, because at the end of the day, there's this rivalry. But I actually spoke with some drivers that are older than me, probably like already like in their 30, 35, 36, already outside of racing, you know. And you speak with them. There's not a lot, but some of them that I spoke.
At least.
And I'm like, I actually, because I saw some podcasts from them, or I saw some conversations they had with people, and I was like, actually feel quite similar to what you said, or similar to you, even in your personal life, or even how it changed your personality, or even like those things. So yes, there is, I don't know if solidarity, but there are some things that are really similar because you share the same path. And it was quite similar, and being a girl in motorsport, in a male-dominated sport, it's not easy, and the way to the top, we have some very similarities that we share. So it's also nice because they also tell you their experiences. They are a bit older, they have even more experience, so it's nice to know. And this, I would say, is something that happened to me actually not so long ago when I saw a podcast from a racing girl. But I would say with the ones that you're racing, it's a bit more tricky, obviously, because there's always the rivalry, and you won the spot maybe, and she's there, but you have to be faster. So that's actually more difficult.
So now moving into the present, because of course we have to talk about the past, but I think the present is where your mind is probably focused on. You're in a very nice project right now with Iron Dames, with Le Mans Cup, with a teammate who is, as you said, very experienced with Vanina X, who of course has seen it all, I think, when it was even trickier than it is now, and she's seeing it now as well. She comes from a racing family. So how's that project going?
The project is great. They're giving us the opportunity to be in this amazing program of girls, you know, that they give us the possibility to race in GT3 for 1 year in a really good championship. They give us also training camps with the other drivers. They gave us also track time with some testing. They give us a lot, to be fair. I'm super happy to be involved in the Iron Dames project. Also, like, very thankful to Deborah, Claudio, and all the people in Iron Dames. But yeah, I think they're doing great. We have more and more girls every time. They get talents from karting as well. But yeah, I think it's great what they're doing. This year I'm doing the Michelin Le Mans Cup with the GT3 911 with Iron Names, with Vanina. I love Vanina. She's amazing. Obviously, we have a gap of age, quite big. But she's like my mom, actually.
She could be mentoring you in a way.
Yes, yes. It's funny because we speak about this. But I think I will be similar to. Sometimes I tell her, I think I will be like you when I'm 50 years old. You know. But no, I love her. She's really good. She also had a lot of experience. Now we're going to race in Le Mans in like 2 weeks, and she's been doing Le Mans for 7 years in a row, I think. So obviously she has the experience, and it's good to have that backup of someone that has done a lot of Le Mans, for example, in so many years. Because then when we go there in 2 weeks, she can also tell me her experiences. Also, she will be for sure in the first outing more prepared than other bronze drivers because she's the bronze driver. But no, I'm really happy with how it's going. This year, apart from the crash we had in Barcelona from another driver. And let's see, because we still have, I think, 4 more races to go. And I think it's going in the right way. So just need to keep working and try to get some good results as well.
Excited to go to Le Mans?
Yes. Really excited. Obviously, we're not doing the 24 hours, but we're doing the Road to Le Mans. It will be the first time for me. So
that's why I was asking, because I know first time in mind is always
exactly.
a big thing.
So I'm actually excited. I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. Because I did some sim, but at the end of the day, the sim is different than you go to the track, and it's much more surprising and exciting.
And now that we were talking about the 911, the GT3, Le Mans, all of these are staples of endurance racing, which is very different from single-seaters. How's that transition been for you?
I think the transition from single-seaters to GTs is not too difficult. I think it's more difficult, much more difficult if you come from GT to single-seater. Mm-hmm. There's also, I saw some experiences from other drivers going to GT to single-seater, and they struggled a lot. For me, the first test that I did back in the day, maybe like October last year, 2024.
Back in the day still, but it's just a closed day.
Yes. It was a bit tricky because I was with Ligier. I was doing the Ligier, and then I switched from the Ligier to the GT3, the Porsche, and it was a bit tricky. We did like 20 laps because the rear was really oversteering. Also with the Goodyear tires, it's a bit also not so easy. But yeah, for me, the first test was not obviously the best test. I needed a bit of adaptation. But then once you get adapted, if you get it quick, which I think you can do easily, it's not that it's different because it's a car that has much more weight. It's more lazy. You need to control in a different way. The technique is also a bit different. The braking is probably in the single-seater is more like this, and then releasing, and then in the GT it's a bit less sharp, but also more like potato shape. So it changes a bit, the driving style, but once you get it right with some laps and the help of the team and so on, actually I think the adaptation is quick.
And now you were mentioning, as we compare these single-seaters and GT, many drivers look at Formula One and they only think about Formula One, and they don't realize that there's a very big wall of motorsport outside, and there is life outside of Formula One. What's your opinion on that?
I think it's true. At the end of the day, F1 is the elite of motorsport. So when you are not involved in racing, for example, what you see is F1, because it's on TV, is what's the most famous. Now also with the Netflix show, with the Drive to Survive. For us, F1 is like the top. But then once you realize there's a lot of more opportunities in prototypes, which are also really, really cool. Even the hypercars are like an F1, but a GT. Then you realize there's a lot of much opportunities and that you can also have fun, be a professional driver, you know, getting your money, your income from racing. Then you actually realize about it, which I did actually in the last 2-3 years when I was doing F1 Academy. Obviously, I wanted to go to Formula Regional in 2024, but it was so tricky. It's very tricky, a very competitive championship. But I already was thinking about GTs or prototypes, you know, like I was not thinking that much already about F1 because I know how difficult it is, how much support you need in every single way, not just economical support, but also having a good team, a good management that puts you in the best team at the best time,
Best
you know.
and
Yeah. So at the end of the day, for a driver, it's really important to realize that it's not just about Formula One or single seaters, but there's a lot of different categories that you probably enjoy even more than if you would race in F1. Obviously, there's not that much media, there's not that much knowledge of the championships, but you also can be a professional driver and be happy and do what you like.
some drivers prefer actually not having that much media and being more focused on the racing. Where do you see yourself in the future then? You see yourself more as an endurance racer, maybe doing the 24-hour of Le Mans in the future, maybe in prototype, as you said, hypercar is a super high-level category as well. And now with so many manufacturers, there are many seeds in there, both in Europe, in World Endurance Championship, and in America as well.
Yeah, for me, the target now, what I would like to do, because also I'm involved in the project of the GTs with Iron Names, would be to stay in GT3 for now. Try to be good, try to be as fast as I can, as well as good as I can, and do LMS probably next year. Try to do LMS, or maybe in the next 2 years. Also try it. Obviously, I would love to do the 24-hour of Le Mans, WEC, IMSA. Always with the GT3, but also I would. I'm still young for the GT or proto career, so I would like to also jump in a prototype one day in a hypercar, and be racing there as a professional driver. That's what I would also love to do, but I think we have time, and now I'm in the right spot. Also, I think the Iron Days project, as we said, is really good. It's giving us a lot of opportunities, so I'm happy there. But now, if we think short time, my target is to be racing in LMS next year with the Iron Names, with the car, or probably also IMSA or WEC, as I said.
So now, Marta, let's shift gears a little bit, and we make a few quick questions, very quick answers as well. So first of all, favorite track and least favorite track. Not so much that you do well or you do bad in there. We don't want to give anyone any advantage on knowing where you struggle. Just on pure enjoyment side. Which track you enjoy the most and which track you cannot seem to enjoy it?
It's true that when you don't enjoy normally it's because you're not very
No,
good.
it is true, but sometimes, I've heard some drivers say,
Yes.
I don't enjoy this track, but I do well in there
Yes.
somehow.
Yeah. I enjoy a lot Spa. I think it's one of my favorite tracks. I'm also good. I normally I was good with even with the Formula Regional, so I like Spa. I like Portimao as well. Then if I think about some track that I don't really like, I will actually tell you Mugello.
Okay.
Which is probably a track that a lot of drivers like because it's really fast and it's cool with a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
I was struggling a lot, probably because I was doing the regional. I was struggling a lot. It was a really fast track, and with that car, so I was like, I hate this track so much.
It happens.
Mugello, I would say.
happens.
But
Okay.
maybe when I race with the GT, it's completely a different thing.
Different car, different experience.
But if I have to tell you, I would say probably Mugello.
Best moment and worst moment of your career?
Best moment of my career, I would say, is when I won F1 Academy. That was my biggest moment in my career. And the worst moment, I would say, was 2021, because it was a really tricky year mentally and so on. The results were awful as well. So 2021, the bad year, F1 Academy, best year.
And now as well, interesting or funny anecdotes, the ones that we can tell anyway, And some of them maybe we couldn't tell, but some that you can tell that are funny about F1, about motorsport. Because people sometimes think it's only about professionalism, and I know that you're having a lot of fun as well.
Yes. I can't just think about one, but it's not a good one to say to the camera.
Okay.
So.
If we cannot say it, we cannot say it.
But no, I will say maybe a glimpse of it. I was when I was in F1 Academy, I was in the simulator with my engineer. I did the first brake in Thunboard in the sim. So when I braked, I had a bit of an issue.
Okay.
With because then we saw the video, and I don't want to say what it was, but basically I was not feeling very good from my stomach. So when we saw the video, you could hear a sound when I did the the braking.
That is funny. That is funny. Okay, I'll give you that.
But I don't know, some other experiences in karting. In motorsport. I don't know. I had a lot of experiences or things that happened to me, but to be fair, I cannot really remember about something funny that happened.
Anyway, the key is just knowing that you're enjoying motorsport beyond the driving as well. And I always ask this from our guests, and I want to hear your opinion as well, but what would be the advice that you would give, in your case, let's say a young girl who wants to get involved in motorsport? What advice would you give them to get it, to start maybe racing, or maybe if they don't want to race, they're an engineer, What would you think?
I would say motorsport is not easy if you are a girl in motorsport, because there's always probably more struggles than if you're a guy, maybe also in the working area, because there is a lot of guys, boys. I was yesterday in the F1 paddock, and then I was talking to one of my friends from Tagoyer, and they saw, we saw, and you were like, oh my God, there's not even a girl in the pit lane. Like, it was just a girl, but she was looking at the races. So I think you need to know that it's a male-dominated sport. You have to be there, putting yourself in there, strong. But I think if you like it, do it. It's possible, because at the end of the day, we see, as you said, also Esteban Ocon's engineer now. There is also Hannah Smits in the Red Bull as a strategist. And there is much more. There is a lot of journalists. There's a lot of different things, different works. But I would say if you like it, obviously do it. Fight for it. Fight for your position inside of motorsport, because it's not easy sometimes.
And make yourself be respected, basically.
Yeah, make yourself be respected. But also, I think even for the guys, you need to make yourself respected. It's a big world of motorsport. Also, the F1, it's a really big one, and there's a lot of people, that want to be in that spot. So you need to be the one that also works the hardest, the best one, and everything. But I would say to a girl, or also anyone, that if you want to do something, go for it, and work as hard as you can to achieve the goal.
Marta, I have to say, you speak like you're older than you are, like you're very experienced, so I think maybe Vanina's motherly advice, I think it's doing a good job. So you can tell her, you're learning, and you're giving now good advice to the next generation as well. Thank you very much.
I will tell her.
Thank you very much for joining us, Marta. It's been a pleasure. Good luck for the rest of the season. Good luck for that first experience in Le Mans. I would say enjoy it. That's one hell of a circuit, and I'm sure you'll do great.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
So that was our third episode of F4 Milestones, the Countdown. This has been Marta García, and of course, wait for the next one, because we have many more very, very interesting guests. See you next time.